New Zealand's Dusky track is regarded as the toughest multi-day hiking trail in the country. Some years ago I took on the challenge, intending to not only do the track, but also take a detour into the tangled, wet wilderness around it. Things didn't quite go according to plan, with my getting a rotten cold on the journey out there from Britain. Still, I managed to salvage a couple of days at an extremely remote mountain lake and complete most of the track while run down and recovering. My name's Feargus, and this is the middle of nowhere. Well, here I am. This is the wilderness. It's taken 4 days to get from Cornwall to here. Just been dropped off by boat at the top of Lake Hauroko, and I've got a 4-day hike ahead before I get to Dusky Sound, where the real adventure begins. The sandflies, which are the scourge of this area, are really bad. I think this is probably the worst kind of day to be out in terms of getting eaten alive. Welcome to Halfway Hut on the Dusky track in the far south of New Zealand. It's the height of summer. It's warm. It's surprisingly nice weather, considering this is one of the wettest places in the world. I was supposed to stay here last night. This is generally where people stay on the first night of the 8-day trek, but I couldn't make it. I was just so tired, so knackered, jet lagged. I had a cold when I arrived here, developed it on the way here. Came straight from the UK, so my internal clock has just been flipped over, and today my body has just said no, not gonna do it. I couldn't quite make it here last night. I camped about an hour and a half further down the trail, and then I made it here around 11 o'clock today. It's New Year's Day. It's just gone midnight back in the UK, so I've just sent a message to the wife and my little son, wishing them a happy new year. But yeah, my body has said enough is enough. You've got to stop for today at least. I've got the shivers. I'm quite weak. I've had this before from overexhaustion. And I know that if I pressed on as much as I would like to, because it's a nice day, and up above, the next hut is up in the mountains, so the views should be spectacular. And a lot of the time you can't see anything because the weather can be so bad. But I won't make it. I won't make it if I press on today. It is a lovely area. The forest is spectacularly covered in moss and stuff. It reminds me of a tropical cloud forest like I've seen in Central Africa and Borneo. And the hut is comfy enough. The big problem here, and back down at the place where I camped particularly, and in fact everywhere here, is New Zealand's answer to the biting midges that you find in Scotland, or the mosquitoes that you find in other places. It's the sandfly. It's this horrible little thing, which somehow they're getting in here, but compared to out there, it's actually quite manageable. These little biting things were swarming my single layer tarp tent last night, and I didn't realize that they could get that bad. I had to spend probably the better part of an hour preparing the tent to make sure that there was nowhere for them to get in, and because it doesn't have an inner sheet, it means I had to load up a load of sand around the edges to make sure that there were no gaps left, and then kill all the ones which had actually made it in before I could go to sleep. Still, in that process, I got bitten to hell on my hands. My hands are swollen, itching like hell. Yeah, so all in all, it's beautiful, but damn, it's hard. So I have a plan for further up the trail, to head out for a few days into Dusky Sound, which is the biggest fjord in the country, with my packraft. But obviously, if I'm 2 days behind as a result of staying here, that could put quite a serious dent in that plan, as well as a forecast for some really bad weather coming up. We'll see. It's the nature of the beast. I have never suffered from claustrophobia, but it's no overstatement to say that I'm absolutely freaking out over the fact that there is nowhere to hide, no escape from the sandflies. They are so abundant inside the hut. I don't have antihistamines with me, and I'm itching everywhere and swollen. My only hope is that higher up there won't be any. And if that's the case, then my plans are going to change completely, and I intend to stay high up for as long as I can. Because I am definitely not enjoying myself. Welcome to Lake Roe Hut. This is relative paradise. Considering how run down I am from a combination of having a cold, chronic sleep deprivation, jet lag, and an extremely heavy pack, I'm amazed I made it up here yesterday. It was a hard slog through the forest again. But now this hut is up just at the tree line, and the sandflies are gone. I don't think it's any exaggeration to say that those first 2 days, 3 days actually to get up here, with the sandflies were the most unpleasant wilderness experience I have ever had. And I've had a lot of wilderness experiences. I arrived here yesterday afternoon, and this morning I've been up about 100, 200 meters higher up than this, around where above the tree line, where the lakes and tarns, very, very picturesque area. And the reason that there is now a big smudge behind you, if you're looking at me, is because I was smart enough to leave the camera on a rock, trying to get a particularly exposed and therefore particularly spectacular view, and the wind blew it over. Bang! It's made a big scratch on the rear lens. So I'm just going to have to carry on anyway. So I've worked out a plan B, whereby I can spend several days hiking up over the mountains above me, staying up above the tree line, and that way I can avoid all of the little and stay out in the wilderness. This lake has no name. It's just a number, just over 1,100 meters above sea level on the map. Even though it's really quite big, very dramatic and very beautiful. There's another one just below it down there, which also has no name, which is about half the size. So, for my intents and purposes, I am going to name it after my son, Lake Dorian. And the one down there, I am going to name it Lake Eva, after my wonderful wife, who gives me the time and space to come out and do things like this. I'm sure I'm not the first person to ever be here. I mean, that would be naive. But I might well be the first person to have accessed some of the spots that I've been to with the boat. And there can be little doubt that no one's ever had a look at the bottom of this lake in such a remote spot as this. So that is, in its own small way, true exploration. And that was the point of this whole trip. Now, I've looked at the ridge up there from the boat, and whereas last night it looked like there wasn't any possibility of finding a route up the ridge to continue on over the mountains as I'd planned, this morning I could see that there is one, and I thought I was going to carry on until I looked at the map and saw that it looks even harder to get down the other side. With that level of uncertainty and such changeable weather, I've decided to go back. So I'm going to go back to the Dusky track, up over that mountain, the way I came yesterday. Stay in the hut again for a fifth night tonight, and then carry on tomorrow. Welcome back to Lake Roe hut. Yesterday was a very challenging day. Getting back over that mountain in the fog. It was pissing rain. It wasn't a situation I was particularly happy to be in. Very dangerous. That kind of visibility in those conditions in such high, steep terrain. Right now, I've been wrestling with whether I should do what I was originally planning to do and complete the Dusky track, which means another 4 days walking, or turn around and go back out the way I came, which is just 2 days down the hill. And I was pretty much decided that I was going to do the latter until this morning when I had a look at the map and realised that if I actually completed the trek now, that I would basically do what I came here to do. And that's what I would like to have done. Like, what I came here to do was to use the Dusky track as an entryway to get the option of being able to access places which are off trail, which are really, really difficult to reach, but which are also really, really cool. So proper exploration. And that's what I've done going up to the lake yesterday, and then complete the track. And whereas I don't really feel like it, I think I've had enough of the wilderness now. I think afterwards I'll be a lot more pleased with myself if I finish what I came here to start. So it's raining again. So I'm going back out in the rain. Good morning. I got in here after taking much longer on the descent than planned. It's a long way down into this valley, from about 1,000 meters down to almost sea level. Got in here about 11, a good hour after dark or so. I always feel like such a twat when I get to this point in my head, that I've been looking forward to this so much, to just getting out into the wild, and now I can't wait to get back to civilization, get some appetizing food, get a proper rest, and then fly home and see my wonderful family. I've just come over the so-called Center Pass, which is the last big geographical barrier in terms of mountain terrain, before the Lake Manipuri, which is a huge lake down here, and that is the gateway to the rest of New Zealand. So you've got to cross the lake to get out of the wilderness. It's so beautiful here, but as has become clear in my ramblings over the last few days, I am more than ready to get out. Yesterday was an absolutely horrible day. It was pissing rain and the terrain was just unbearable. going through really dark forest, feeling like I'm trudging through the bowels of the earth in the pissings of rain. I was so wet, so cold, and it was such a long day. I just wanted to cry. So tomorrow is apparently, technically, the easiest day of the entire trek. So another hour and a half to the next hut. And tomorrow I'm going to leave early, get the boat, because I cannot face another night out in the wild. I can't face another night eating the food that I have. The dehydrated camping food that I brought for the trip was chosen for its calorific content, not for its joy of eating. I haven't eaten enough today, I know that, because I just can't face eating dehydrated scrambled eggs. Not as nice as it sounds. Although I have enjoyed it most mornings, but not today. What I really want is a double portion, 6 pieces of big greasy KFC chicken. And some fresh fruit. Fresh fruit would be awesome.